Welcome back again, folks, to another episode of the Profitable Sheep and Goat Production Podcast. I'm Leon,
And I'm Matt.
and today we thought we would talk about late gestation, nutrition, etc. So I thought, boy, it's a little early for that, but if you look at the calendar, you better be thinking about it if you're lambing in January and February, like Matt and I do on our farms. And I know there's quite a few of you listeners out there that lamb in the wintertime. It's amazing how fast time sneaks up on you. I know the ewes are definitely starting to look like they're working toward lambing time.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess for us, we're only about 2 months from our winter lambing, so not quite time to go into the late gestation feeding program yet, but it's definitely time to start thinking about what we're gonna do for that. So, uh,
If you're at this stage right now and something isn't right, good luck, huh?
yeah. Well, there's some things you can do.
Yeah, I guess it's just hopefully your ewes are in good condition and you don't feel like you have to get too much more conditional or anything like that, though.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as I was considering this topic. We tend to see late gestation as a really important time period, and it is. It's when most of your issues arise. But I would say mid gestation is more important to set them up properly. Um, like once you get into late gestation, you're kind of working with what you have. You can't change much. Mid-gestation mid-gestation, you can't get condition on the ewes anymore. Don't try it. You're gonna lead to a wreck, but you can at least, um, solve the bigger problem of overfeeding ewes in mid-gestation and be careful with that. Because if you overfeed them in mid-gestation to try and get weight on them or whatever, then all you do is produce bigger lambs in the ewes, so now you have a skinny ewe with 2 big lambs, which isn't ideal either.
So let's break that down just a little bit. So some of us flush feed, which I think
Yep,
both of us do. So we want those ewes gaining some body condition prior to and during breeding.
yep.
And then Matt, talk a little bit about what nutrition looks like that first half or up until now, let's say.
Yeah, gotcha. So, if you still obviously, if you're flushing them, um, most people just do that maybe 2, 3 weeks after they turn the ram out. Some people go further. But
But
if
they
it's
would have been they would have started maybe 4 weeks before they put the rams in.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 3
Depends on their condition.
depends on the condition. Yep, yep. So if you need to get a lot of condition on them, 4 weeks. You just need a little bit of condition, maybe start 3 weeks before, get them up, to what your flush feed's gonna be. And then if your users if you're still trying to get a little more condition on them, you can keep feeding that flush feed for maybe, I don't know. I don't think I'd go more than 4 to 6 weeks post ram turnout,
Right.
because then we start getting into mid-gestation. And my experience has been then in mid-gestation, you don't wanna try to put condition on the ewes. At that point, you have the condition, they're gonna have because what I've found is if I have ewes in mid-gestation that I'm trying to put condition on, they don't. They put it into the lambs, and you end up with 2 big lambs.
And really the requirements of that fetus is I don't want to say it's low, but that up until that last 4 to 6 weeks, the requirements aren't very high.
They're actually only slightly higher than a maintenance diet, which isn't that high, so, you know, looking from a practical terms, that could be just out grazing your grass pastures, grass, or it could be grazing cover crops, or if you have them in the barn on hay, it could be just a medium quality hay. Doesn't have to be very high quality, medium quality hay, no grain. There's no reason to feed grain in mid gestation.
One thing you don't want it though is when you say out in pasture, so just reminds me I got a call just this week and the guys, their sheep are starting to lamb and the lambs are weak and kind of small. If they're just out in pasture, they gotta have decent grass to eat. Like they can't just be cleaning up the last remnants. I guess what I'm trying to say
No,
is,
in mid gestation though.
yeah, but they can't be losing condition. Is it
Right,
what I want? I guess is the point I want to make.
right.
They can be on, like you said, mid quality hay or something
Yeah.
or the pasture, but you can't be like running them out of groceries on the pasture and them going backwards.
Yeah.
I know in the past,
Still, that mid gestation, the requirement's pretty low
I,
though.
right. I know there's some years that I feel like I pushed my ewes too hard. And if they start losing condition, then what do you do?
Yeah, yeah, you can't change.
Can't hardly recoup it without making problems.
Sure.
You want to keep them on keep their body
Decent.
condition pretty steady.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't want you don't
Yeah, and that could be an issue with going into fall. If your pasture quality really drops and you're trying to force them to clean up some areas, you might want to watch that a little bit. But I've never had too much issues with that. I Where I have had issues with that is if we're going into late fall and we're starting to get into late gestation and I'm trying to get them to clean up pastures. I've had issues there.
yeah.
That's a whole That ball game changes really fast. Once you get into those last 4 to 6 weeks prior to lambing, it's a completely different ball game. Those ewes need good feed at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And my rule of thumb, and I know we're going ahead to late gestation a bit, but my rule of thumb is in late gestation, you're probably not gonna overfeed your ewes. It's not possible because I shouldn't say it's not possible. Somebody's gonna dump like 5 pounds of grain to them and
Yeah.
and tell me I'm wrong, but you're not likely to overfeed your ewes in that late gestation because that's when those lambs are developing the most. That's where when they do their most development, but I'm not seeing, and I could be wrong, but I'm not seeing where we increase the lamb size by feeding them hard in late gestation.
As long as you aren't doing it too soon.
Too soon, right.
So
Yeah, if you start too soon, yep,
then you'll have problems.
but if you once you get to those last 2 to 4 weeks prior to them lambing, you're not gonna overfeed them. But, yeah, if you start 8 weeks prior to the start of your lambing, feeding them hard, then you can increase your lamb size. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah, that timeline's pretty key there.
it is, especially if you're gonna say you can't overfeed them.
Yeah.
One thing that I have thought about different times is your last 4 to 6 weeks. If we talk about let's say the last 4 weeks of gestation,
Yeah.
where does that start? So if you're only turning the ram out for 3 weeks,
Mhm.
that landing window is gonna be grouped pretty tight.
Yep.
If you have that ram turned out for 7 weeks, let's say, that last 4 to 6 weeks, where is that?
Yep.
You're you have to use a little bit of common sense there, I guess, where you will be feeding some ewes 8 weeks before they land.
Yeah, and we've had that, and we see more issues on those later lambing ewes. We just do. They've been getting that for too long. I mean, since we've gone to the 3-week breeding window, that's not been an issue, but prior to that, that definitely was. So I tend to go more like I don't start feeding the ewes more until 4 weeks prior to when the first weeks the first ones are gonna start lambing, and even then, I just start increasing it slightly. So we're like 2 weeks prior to the first ones lambing till we really get them up on a full late gestation feed.
Right.
But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that is a really good point. You wanna be careful about stepping that up too quickly. Um, I know we've run into that in the past where we stepped it up. We had them on pretty decent feed in mid gestation already, and then we started feeding grain too early, and then we just had all kinds of lamb problems. But
Most times with catatas, I tell people as long as if you have multiple births, I have seen very few lambing problems.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's those singles that'll get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
16, 17 pound. That's
you can still if you're overfeeding them, and we like to push our birth weights. We like to feed the ewes well and push our birth weights up there a little bit because it gives you bigger, healthier lambs that are gonna grow fat, but, you do that too much, you start running into more lambing problems, so I feel like we're always kinda towing the edge a little bit. Probably if I'd be a commercial producer, I'd actually pull them back a little bit more and not feed them quite as good through mid-gestation, um, but, yeah, you gotta weigh that balance a bit.
right.
Well, now would be a good time to talk about needing to test your forages or feed, especially in late gestation.
Right.
I get frustrated with the amount of people that call me with lambing problems, and then I ask them what their hay is or what they're feeding, and they don't know. And in late, you don't have to do it all year, but in late gestation, it's really important to know what they're getting. Not only to make sure they're getting enough of energy and protein, but also to see is there enough calcium in there? Is there enough phosphorus in there? They need phosphorus too at certain levels in late gestation. Um,
And you said you don't have to do this on all your hay or every year. There is a difference, I suppose, if you're pulling the hay from the same field and you know that the last 2 years it was this, because that I'm trying to cover myself right now because I have samples from the hay I have right now.
yeah,
But, I know where it came from. It came off the same field, and you need to be doing some testing sometimes. It's just you gotta know where you're at in the game.
yeah, and I would say even same field. So I'm gonna put you in a corner here. I would say even same field, all that. In late gestation, I'm gonna be testing it and know what it is. And to be clear, I don't always test all my hay. I don't always, know exactly what I'm feeding, but in late gestation, I do. I make sure that I know what we're feeding them and that that's balanced because it just makes such a big difference. You might, if you're making all your own hay, you get a pretty good idea what you're making, what it is, what you need to supplement. Um, and 4 years out of 5, that might work well, but then, that 1 year where it was just a little different year, what different weather, maybe later till you got that hay made, and you think, "Oh, it's probably not much different." Well, sometimes you're in for a surprise. I know I've had some of those where I tested hay and I was like, "What? I thought this was just regular first cutting, and for some reason we're way lower quality, than I anticipated." So, I don't know. In late gestation, don't mess around. It's cheap
Too
prob
late,
What's that?
or it's too late
Yeah.
if you mess up.
Yep. Yep. So, get your head tested, see where you're at. Even if you're grazing cover crops and stuff in late gestation. There again, I don't always do that, but we did when we started. with cover crops. We tested that, kind of see what we need to supplement, and we learned some things through
See
that.
if you have any holes in it anywhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you touched on two things. You touched on calcium, and we're talking about making sure we have enough the feed quality. We need the protein and the energy
Yeah.
that these sheep need. Let's Can we talk just a little bit about some of those problems that might we don't want to get in the weeds too much, but if if we aren't meeting the energy requirements and we aren't meeting the calcium requirements,
Hmm.
we could see ketosis and milk fever problems. If your hay is not high enough, if your ration isn't high enough in calcium, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. So for us, if we have them on a TMR ration, we're just gonna add some feed grade lime into the ration.
Right.
Or if we don't have them on TMR, we use the Premier One mineral pack, so we can add calcium to that if we need it. So, or you can put calcium out free choice, and if they're deficient, they'll eat it.
I've even went as far as putting it in grain. You can put it in your feed
Yeah.
mix.
Yeah.
Basically force feed it to them.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how if you have a calcium problem, it's not gonna correct overnight. Do
No,
feed
but you can correct it fairly soon, a week or 2. But yeah, that's where if you start getting ewes that come down with milk fever, and you have a whole group, you're gonna have a couple before you get it corrected
right.
probably. Um, One thing to think about with that is for the people that aren't testing or, are out on grass, if you have clover, if you're out on grass and you have clover in there, you're probably okay, or some sort of legume, alfalfa.
Or if you're feeding alfalfa hay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the same if you're in the barn and you're feeding them just a dry grass hay, you're gonna run into that probably. But if you add a little bit of alfalfa in there, it'll give you your calcium needs.
One year when we had a calcium problem, we didn't catch it until sheep started crashing. I actually fed alfalfa pellets
Mhm.
for a while. Just I couldn't get alfalfa hay, at least not like today.
Yeah,
And so for we started pushing the feed grade lime and
yeah,
alfalfa pellets just to get some more calcium in their diet.
yeah, and it's pretty readily available, so
Yeah.
it changes pretty quick. But energy deficiency, which is the other big consideration, I mean, that's just basically if and it's going to happen to your ewes that are carrying usually triplets first. So she has three big lambs in her, and she just can't eat enough of whatever you're feeding her. Then you get energy deficiency, and they go
And
into
this
ketosis.
and this is physically she can't eat enough. She physically can't fit enough forage in there. Just think if you're feeding a first cutting hay, it's got a lot of bulky, stemmy,
Hmm.
it's not very nutrient dense. Like with those lambs taking up all that space, she literally can't hardly get enough in there.
Yeah,
And what she does get in there, she doesn't get enough out of to really meet her requirements.
yeah. So the easy way to fix that is feed them some grain. I mean, it's pretty simple. And you don't need much protein in late gestation.
Energy.
You need energy. So, like, it doesn't have to be for most times, if your hay has some protein in, you're not gonna need a 15% sheep mix. You're just gonna need straight corn, straight barley, just that energy for late gestation.
Yeah. Corn's cheap right now.
Yeah, yeah, that's a cheap way to feed them. Some whole shelled corn. You don't need to prep it or anything. And Leon's got the lick feeders for you. You can just put it in there and they'll get what they need.
Go there.
Yeah.
Set it and forget it.
Yeah. Look at that. We got that worked in there.
Yeah, so I don't think we're gonna go in the weeds today too much about what you do if you have a sheep go down with milk fever and ketosis. We did have another episode. Um, Boy, if I had that episode here, maybe I can put a plug in for that later. The episode number for that on where we dug into that ketosis and milk fever a little deeper. So, what else do we want to cover? Late gestation, abortion problems.
Yeah, that's always a consideration. Um, I don't think either us vaccinate, but there is some types of abortion that you can vaccinate for. Um, I would only do that if you have had an issue. And I don't ask me what the different ones are.
Yeah,
Some long name that I can't pronounce probably.
I would have to dig into that some, but
Um,
I agree. I wouldn't vaccinate unless you absolutely had to.
yeah. And even so, what we do, we feed air mice and crumbles in late gestation for abortion prevention. Um, Depends on the size of your flock, and if you haven't had a history of abortion, well, don't try to fix what isn't broken, but we find it really useful because especially in ewe lambs, if we don't, we'll get a year where we just get hit with an abortion storm, and you have large groups of ewes lambing at a time. Well, you can lose a lot of lambs in a short period of time before you can start treating them. So we just do it as a preventative. You have to work with your vet for that. They can subscribe it. Some will be hesitant to do it, with the way the laws are now. We used to use the, AS700, which I really like because it has sulfur in as well and gives you more protection, across a wider range of abortion agents. But we can't my vet won't prescribe that. Not unless if we would have an abortion storm and we would send lambs in to get tested, and it would be the strain that sulfur helps with, then she said she would prescribe it for us, but otherwise not. And we haven't had an issue, so I can't complain.
Not to correct you, but I think it's a sulfa drug like that's in there.
What did I
So,
say?
well, I don't want anybody just feeding sulfur to try to fix it.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. No,
I don't know if
that's
it's
actually,
sulfadoxine. I mean,
sulfur is really restricted, and I don't understand why. I don't know that you can just you're legally I mean, there's certain limits of how much sulfur you can feed them.
really,
So, it's I don't know why. Those and the sulfur drugs, like, there's, water-based sulfur treatments, those are really restricted, and I don't I mean, it's not an antibiotic. I don't
yeah,
understand that. Maybe somebody
sulfadoxine,
can enlighten me.
that's an antibiotic.
Sulfur,
No, sulfa. It's
sulfa,
sulfa.
sulfa,
Sulfa. Your AS700 has sulfa.
sulfa. So
Sulfa-diamethoxine, I think.
so you're telling me it's sulfa, not sulfur.
Right.
It's a
And
different
is sulfa something to do with sulfur? Maybe, I don't know. But
because
it's called sulfa.
there's different
No R.
base
Sulfa drugs.
sulfa
Yeah.
drugs. I thought
But
it's
just like we used to treat well, if I had a coccidia outbreak, I would prefer to use a sulfa drug,
yeah,
water,
yeah.
or dose it. I would prefer actually to drench it probably. Over cord. I would prefer.
Well, yeah, I don't use cord, but while we're there, I do my vet'll give me sulfa
Yeah. Got it.
to put in the water, but it doesn't work with lambs that are on the ewes yet.
Right.
They don't drink enough water.
I would still prefer to drench it even if they weren't well, at least then I
You
know
don't
that they're getting the right dose and we're gonna
like working too hard.
well, I don't like messing around when I got a coccidia problem.
Yeah, yeah, it is nothing to
I would
mess.
probably drench them and then still run it in the water for a while. Yeah,
Ah,
anyway.
so you would overdose them.
Wow. Follow the label. Follow the
Yeah, yeah. The water-based treatment does work well, though.
yeah.
I've had good success with that.
Works better than cord. I don't like cord.
Core doesn't work. It's useless in my opinion.
Then you have to make sure you don't have to, you don't have polio problems after you use it if you use it too long or
Oh, really? I haven't.
isn't that don't you have to give vitamin K
Thiamine?
Thiamine.
Thiamine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Mm,
you have yeah, anyway.
okay. Yeah.
We are getting in the weeds now.
Well, we did wanna talk about, coccidiosis prevention as well. What we do so all sheep have coccidiosis. We're not gonna get too much into that, but, so what we do, we try to knock it back, the levels that are in the ewes in late gestation. It doesn't affect the ewes, um, but it will if the lambs will pick it up and it'll affect them. So in late gestation, we try to knock those levels back so that at lambing, the levels in the environment are lower.
And
Um,
this is in your manure it's everywhere.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know how long it lives in the manure and bedding pack, but I'm saying you wanna yeah, you wanna keep your get your environment cleaned up and ready for those lambs.
Yeah, so you're gonna
Because
have it. You're gonna have it. It's there. You're just working with it.
I
Oh,
wanna keep it under control.
yeah.
So, what do you use as the coccidiostat in your feed?
We are using prior to lambing, we put 2 pounds of decox in with their minerals, which is what Pipestone recommend not Pipestone, Premier One
Right.
recommends. 2 pounds of the 6% decox. You can get it from Premier One or your local feed supply.
Yeah.
And then we run that into early gestation,
And then
or early lactation.
gotcha. So, decox dequinate is the drug I shouldn't call it a drug. Well, it's not it's not exactly an antibiotic, but yet it is kind of.
Yeah,
Somebody can correct me on that, but decox will only prevent, it won't treat. That's something that I like to clarify.
yeah, yeah,
It basically keeps the coccidia from reproducing is the way I understand it.
yeah.
So if you have a coccidia outbreak, you don't just say, "Okay, we're gonna fix this. We're gonna put a decox in our feed for our lambs," whatever. The key is to get it on ahead, like we already talked about. Give it to your ewes, get your environment clean, and then I'm sure you follow up with it in your lamb creep feed, right?
We do. We are using
Bovatech?
Bovatech in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, works well. And we actually did an episode where we touched on this, I think, talking about the um, different coccidiostats that you can put in creep feed.
we did. And I'm just
Um, I think on there it was said that Bovatech is actually not legal to feed sheep, which isn't true. I know we had a discussion about that.
Rumensin,
Was that Rumensin?
right.
But that's also you can use that.
You
Um,
can't it's not it's labeled for goats, but not for sheep, so you would have to work with your vet or
but they're not for one, they're not regulated like antibiotics, so even if you're off label, you don't need a VDF. And we're not vets, so work with your vet. Um, we don't know what we're talking about.
not at all, not at all.
Nobody come after us if we say the right thing. We're just dumb farmers. If we say the wrong thing.
So, for those of you that wanna go back and listen to the episode we did on late gestation issues, where we focused not so much on the well, we did talk about nutrition some, but where we dug into the milk fever and ketosis a little deeper. That episode was episode 29, and for those of you that listen on the phone with the call-in, you would wanna put in, episode your the ID for the episode would be 1029, and I'll also get you the one here for the one where we talked about coccidiostats, and so the episode on coccidiostats was episode 18, and if you're using the phone call in, it would be your sharing ID for that episode would be 1018. And I would encourage folks to if you haven't listened to those, or if you just want to brush up on a little bit, go back and listen to those 2 episodes. I know it'd be good for me to dig into that one on the ketosis and milk fever. Sometimes I still have to get out the book and okay, there's a couple distinguishing symptoms that can kind of point you toward ketosis or milk fever. Usually I treat for both of them and hope one of them fixes it.
Yeah. I usually treat for milk fever, and if they're not up in an hour, it was
Well, then treat the ketosis and I don't have the ketosis can be a little bit of a tough one to
that one's a lot harder. There's
get
no
turned around.
easy yeah, there's no easy just treatment that I've found for that. That one's a lot tougher.
All right, anything else we wanted to cover yet?
No, I think we've covered that well. Basically, it's time to start thinking about getting towards lambing season, what your ewes need.
Test your
Maybe we'll
forage.
what was that? Oh, test
Test
your
your
forage.
forage.
Yes, test your forage. Again, I get frustrated with the people that should know better that don't. Uh,
Ouch. You better get that hay probe down off the hook.
get your hay tested, Leon. um, we should maybe in a couple weeks here do a podcast more focusing on lambing itself and preparing for that. I think that would be interesting. I know that's something that's easy to kind of let slip aside, and all of a sudden you have lambs being born and you don't have all the supplies and stuff you need. So maybe we'll do one like that in the future here. I think would be a good suggestion.
Yeah. Hey, we should put the idea out and see if some of our listeners have some feedback for us. So we've been talking about the idea of doing a live episode sometime.
Yep.
What do we say? Maybe January or February or something.
Yeah, we thought.
Maybe in the middle of lambing, actually. So it should be like what, second week of February, first
Yeah,
week of February, second week
yeah.
of February, maybe.
And we thought it would be kind of that's around the time we started the podcast, so it would be kind of a nice um anniversary, so to speak. Is it our second
These are
year
second year, yeah.
that we're doing the podcast? So it'd be kind of neat, and it would be a neat way to interact with some of our listeners.
As long as you guys don't all talk at once, that we don't have to like keep shutting you down.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how we'll do it yet, but we would have a call in number that those that don't have Zoom
Yep.
would be able to call in and listen. And it would, yeah, we could get that number out there on ahead beforehand. And yeah, we're gonna keep kicking that idea around some more and see what we can come up with. I don't
Like,
know that we're gonna have any certain topic we're gonna just well,
no.
we should maybe what's happening in the lambing barn, maybe we could talk about a little bit, but usually when Matt and I started these recordings, it's kind of you talk for half an hour before you start recording, and after a while it's like, hey, we just need to turn these mics on, like we should be recording this.
Yep.
Anyway, after a while we start digging into bunny trails and stuff that hey, this is kind of an interesting discussion, and then we kind of blow it.
Yeah.
Anyway, yep. And also just a reminder, folks, if you like and follow our episode, that helps us out a lot. We really appreciate that. Gets the content out there for more people.
It gets us paid.
How does this work?
I don't know. I can hope, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I guess that's a wrap for today. And happy hay testing.
Get that probe out.
Yep. Hey, we'll see you folks. Catch up with you next time. Thanks again.
Like
Thanks again, folks, for listening to another episode of the Profitable Sheep and Goat Production Podcast. This call is brought to you by Lost Creek Wholesale, your universal feeder distributor and your supplier of top quality sheep and goat handling and feeding equipment. If you're looking for feeders, lambing jugs, hay racks, tub and alley systems, portable handling systems, you name it, we got it. Check out our website, www.lostcreekwholesalellc.com. Or better yet, give us a call, 717-310-3641. Thanks again, and we'll catch up with you next time.